Hey everybody, this is Steve McGill here of hurdlesfirst.com and the Hurdle magazine. And for today's video, I want to talk some about the timing aspect of hurdling. I was working with a beginner hurdler. Not, she hasn't just begun, but she was new for me. Um, Hurdler this past weekend, and I was going over some things with her, some fundamental basics of technique, and she was experiencing some frustration. Like she would fix one thing and another thing would get messed up. She remember her lead arm, then she'd forget, trail leg coming to the front or something like that. And so I told her the exact thing I'm going to discuss in this video, to don't think of it in terms of lead leg, trail leg, lead arm, trail arm, stuff like that. No, think of it as one motion, okay? Because when you take off, there's like 6 different things happening at the same time. When you dive into the hurdle, those things are still happening, and on coming down off the hurdle, the things are still happening, okay? And so when you think of it as a timing issue or timing, uh, take a approach of it being a timing thing, you'll start to understand how the different body parts relate to each other and help you to get over the hurdle efficiently, okay? So I'm going to take a look at some still photos here of one of my athletes doing a block start over 3 hurdles. And these still photos will just focus on her flight over one of the hurdles. Okay, so if we look at this first one here, what we see is as she's pushing off with the back leg. All right, so that's one thing I emphasize is push off with force with the back leg, because the push off creates hip height. It raises your hips, okay? So you can kind of attack the hurdle at a more downhill angle, okay? So she's pushing off her back foot. She is driving her knee up, her lead leg knee up. So the trail leg, what we call the trail leg, is pushing off while the lead leg knee is driving up. And for our purposes, we always want our knee to get higher than the crossbar, okay? So that's what the legs are doing. Back leg is pushing off. Lead leg knee is driving up. Meanwhile, the hips are pushing forward when you take off, okay? Hips are pushing forward all the time, but they push forward with more force when you take off. So I always tell my athletes, you're literally going in 2 directions at once when you take off. You're going up because the push off the back leg sends you up, and then you're going forward because the forward thrust of the hip sends you forward, okay? If you push off with force off the back leg, but you don't push your hips forward at the exact same time, your hips will rise, you will float, and you'll spend too much time in the air. So the back leg pushing off and the hips pushing off upward and the hips pushing forward happen at the same time while the lead leg knee is driving up, okay? So all those 3 things are happening at once. Meanwhile, the lead arm, as you can see in the photo, is punching up and driving up to where it's about even with somewhere around your face range, your cheek or eyes, or maybe forehead. And then you can't see her trail arm in this photo from this angle, but her trail arm punches back to her back pocket. Okay, so those 2 things are happening as well. So that's 5 things: a push off the back leg, driving the knee of the lead leg up, pushing the hips forward, driving up the lead arm, punching the trail arm back to the back pocket, and the 6th thing is the forward lean. Okay, so you should already be slightly forward just from running on the balls of your feet, right? And then the lean will push you more forward. So the lead leg knee drives up, and the lean means that your chest is coming down over your knee or over your thigh. Okay, and then to count again, all 6 things are happening at the exact same time. All right, the push off the back leg, driving the lead leg knee up, pushing the hips forward, driving the lead arm up, driving the trail arm to the back pocket, and pushing the chest down with a deep forward lean. All 6 things are happening at once. So if you think of them as 6 separate things, you can easily get confused, and that can slow down your progress, okay? So what you want to try to learn how to do as an athlete is learn how to conceptualize the timing aspect of things. Don't think lead leg as separate from trail leg. Don't think lead arm as separate from trail arm. Try to get a conceptualization of how all these things affect each other and happen together. Okay. Next photo. So now she has taken off. She has left the air, and she's attacking the hurdle. Okay. So at this point in flight, as her heel has crossed the crossbar, we see her lead leg has begun its downward descent, its downward flight. Her lead arm has also begun its downward flight, so they're kind of working together in terms of creating a downhill angle and getting us back to the track sooner. Okay, the trail leg, which just pushed off, is now starting to drive to the front. Okay, the lean has deepened. Okay, the trail arm, we still can't see it yet, but it's beginning to punch up a little bit. Okay, and the hips are still pushing forward. All right, so if you don't get things right when you take off, then things won't look right when you're attacking the hurdle. Okay, so the style of hurdling I teach, okay, you see her leg is still bent when the heel crosses the bar. We don't want that leg to be locked at the knee yet. Okay, some people, a lot of coaches argue whether you want a straight leg lead or a bent leg lead. Okay, it's kind of a moot point from my perspective, because the point is the angle at which you want the leg to extend. Okay, so for the style of hurdling I coach, we don't want the lead leg to extend horizontally. We want it to extend on the downhill angle. Okay, which leads us to our next photo. Okay, so here you can see the lead leg is extending, but it's extending downward. It's attacking the track. All right, it's not extending flat at a horizontal angle. Okay, so which means that leg will be able to cycle back under her hip and land right under her hip when the foot will land right under her hip when she lands. Okay, so now the trail leg is now has finished driving to the front. The knee is still facing forward. So it's all it has to do now is just raise into running position, which will be the next photo. Okay. Meanwhile, the lean is maintained. Okay. Once you start leaning, you don't stop leaning. You always hold your lean. Never stand up as you're coming off the hurdle. Stay forward, stay forward, stay forward. Okay. And now you can see the trail arm now, the elbow bent, punching upward, starting to punch upward as the lead arm is now beginning to cycle backward. Okay, so the arms are switching position, and at this point in the flight, the arms are basically right beside each other as they're transitioning. Okay, and then upon landing, here we go. We see both elbows are bent in running position. We see the lead leg has landed, the ball of the foot. The trail leg knee is high and facing the front, and thighs parallel to the track. Both feet are dorsiflex, which means she can sprint off the hurdle in a continuous motion without any issues with balance or loss of speed. In fact, she'll be able to increase her speed and accelerate off the hurdle, so she'll be faster coming off it than she was going into it, which is our goal every time. Okay, to continue to accelerate and to continue to force ourselves to be quick between the hurdles. Don't allow ourselves to get comfortable between the hurdles. Okay, so to reiterate, it all starts at takeoff. Okay, there are 6 things basically you want to think about at takeoff: pushing off the back leg, pushing the hips forward, driving the lead leg knee up, driving the hand of the lead arm up, keeping that elbow bent and the elbow below the hand. Okay, punching the trail arm back to the back pocket, keeping that elbow bent, and pushing forward with your lean so that your chest is coming down over your thigh. Okay, if you do those 6 things right at takeoff, you can't help but have a very solid, efficient, fluid hurdle clearance. Okay, so let's take a look at this rep at full speed from practice from the other day. Let's see what it looks like when it's happening in live action. Okay, here we go. All right, so there you have it. At full speed, you can see it looks very fluid. It looks just running. I always tell my hurlers that you want the hurling action to feel so easy that it's like stepping over a book bag in the hallway. You always want to feel like it's effortless. Okay, you got to put your body in position so that it is effortless. Okay, the more you rely on kicking out your lead leg and snapping down your lead leg, the more that trail leg is gonna fall further behind, and you'll find yourself getting more and more sideways as you go down the track. So a lot of the thing that most hurdlers don't emphasize enough is the push off the back leg at takeoff. Okay, even in doing like wall drills and other trail leg drills, people don't generally emphasize the push at takeoff. That's, to me, is the most key part of what the trail leg does. Before it takes off, before it leaves the ground, it has to push with force, okay, to get those hips tall and to create velocity going through the hurdle, okay. And everything else should fall in place. A lot of hurdlers who rely too much on their lead leg, then it's got to be a balance. If you ask me which is more important, lead leg or trail leg, I would say both. Okay, it's like asking which is more important, the inhale or the exhale when you're breathing. Well, both are important. Without either one, you die, right? So it's kind of the same thing. You have to have a balance there. Okay, so most people have an imbalance in that they're overly dependent on their lead leg. Okay, so with the style that I teach, we try to put that trail leg where it belongs with equal importance, because without both of them being equally important, you don't have a flow. Okay, you don't have this action. Okay, instead you have a 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 1 2. We want to have 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4, continuous, continuous, continuous. Okay, all right, that's all I have for today. I hope everybody enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time. All right, peace.